The ranch had been silent for so long that silence itself felt like a living thing. It clung to the wide wooden walls, drifted through the open fields, and settled heavy in the chest of Caleb Warren every morning he woke alone. The wind moved the tall grass like waves on a dark ocean, the same way it had when his wife was alive, yet everything felt different now. 3 years had passed since the accident. 3 years since laughter had vanished from the house, and the rancher had learned to move through his days like a man already half gone. He worked, he ate, he slept, and he spoke to no one unless absolutely necessary. Grief had turned him inward, and the world had learned to leave him that way. That morning began like every other. Cold air, black coffee, boots on worn wood. Caleb didn't expect anything unusual when he rode in early from checking the fences. The sun was barely above the horizon, painting the sky in pale gold, when he stepped off his horse and walked toward the house. But the moment he reached the door, something was wrong. The smell hit him first. Warm bread, fried onions, something comforting and alive. His hand froze on the door handle. No one cooked in his kitchen. No one had cooked there since his wife's hands had last touched the stove. His instincts told him to reach for the rifle mounted near the door. Years of ranch life had trained him not to ignore surprises. Slowly, quietly, he pushed the door open. The hinges creaked softly, and that was when he heard it, crying. Not loud, not dramatic, quiet, broken sobs. The kind someone makes when they're trying desperately not to be heard. The sound cut through him sharper than any blade. It wasn't the cry of an intruder. It was the cry of someone hurting. Caleb stepped inside, every sense alert. And there, standing at his stove like she belonged there and yet clearly didn't, was a girl. She couldn't have been more than 17. Her hair was pulled back messily, sleeves rolled up, hands trembling as she stirred a pan. Tears streamed down her face and dropped into the food she was cooking. She wiped her cheeks with the back of her wrist. But more tears followed immediately. She didn't hear him at first. She was too lost in whatever pain had driven her to cry alone in a stranger's kitchen. For a long moment, Caleb just watched. He had faced wild animals, violent storms, and desperate men. But nothing had prepared him for this. A crying girl in his home, cooking, like she was trying to survive by pretending she had a place in the world. The sight cracked something deep inside him, something grief had sealed off for years. When he finally cleared his throat, the sound was low and rough, unused from disuse. The girl startled so violently that the spoon fell from her hand and clattered to the floor. She spun around, eyes wide with terror, face pale beneath the tear streaks. In that instant, Caleb saw it clearly, not guilt, not malice, but fear. War panicked fear, the kind that comes from being hunted by life itself. I'm sorry, she blurted out, her voice shaking. I didn't steal anything. I swear, I was just cooking. I'll leave. Please don't call anyone. Her words tumbled over each other as she backed toward the door, hands raised like she expected to be struck. Caleb raised one hand slowly, not threatening, just open. Easy, he said. His voice sounded strange to his own ears, softer than he remembered it being. I ain't calling anyone. The girl didn't relax. If anything, she looked ready to bolt. Caleb noticed how thin she was, how her clothes hung loose, how her eyes carried the exhaustion of someone who hadn't slept safely in a long time. He glanced at the stove again. The food was nearly done. She hadn't come to steal. She had come because she was hungry, because hunger makes people brave in ways comfort never does. Caleb swallowed hard. Memories flooded him, his wife cooking in that same spot, humming softly, turning the kitchen into the warm heart of the house. For a second, the pain was almost unbearable. What's your name? He asked gently. She hesitated, then whispered, Lila. The name settled in the room like a fragile thing. Caleb nodded. You hungry, Lila? Her eyes filled again, and that answer was all he needed. He pulled out a chair at the table and sat down slowly, showing her he wasn't a threat. Finish cooking, he said. Food's better eaten hot. She stared at him like he'd spoken another language. No yelling, no accusations, no anger, just an invitation. Slowly, cautiously, she turned back to the stove. Her shoulders shook as she tried to steady her breathing. Caleb stayed seated, hands folded, giving her space, giving her dignity. He didn't know it yet, but that single decision to stay calm, to stay kind, was the moment both their lives began to change. As she served the food onto two plates, Caleb noticed her hands still trembling. Whatever had driven her here wasn't small. When she finally sat across from him, she barely touched the food at first, like she didn't believe she was allowed to eat. Caleb took the first bite, nodding approval. "It's good," he said. "Real good." That was when she finally began to eat. Slowly at first, then with quiet desperation. Tears fell again, but she didn't wipe them away this time. No one spoke for a while. The silence between them was different now. It wasn't empty, it was shared. And in that quiet kitchen, something neither of them expected was forming, a fragile connection between two broken souls who had both lost everything. If this story already has you feeling something, if you believe kindness still matters in a hard world, take a moment to subscribe to this channel. Stories like this don't just entertain, they remind us who we can be. And this is only the beginning.